Well, welcome back, everyone, to Unshackled, where we kind of just discuss the things in life that keep us kind of stuck or in a place where life's not seeming to go the way we want it to go. And we use the book that I wrote recently as a curriculum called Unshackled. Obviously, you can see that in the book here, but also behind me. And it's a small group curriculum. It's 12 weeks long, and it takes just on a journey of discovery, or what are the things that have happened to us in our life that has kept us from being able to today, in this time frame of our life, from really receiving and feeling close to the Lord, feeling the blessings of the Lord, and not feeling shackled, not feeling stuck. And it's a wonderful small group curriculum. It's designed for all churches. And it's just about the healing power of Jesus dealing with things like rejection, things like abandonment, things like hardened heart, and all the things that we as humans run into because of what I call the bruises of life. And it's the bruises of life that steal the liberty from us to walk in the freedom that Jesus already paid the price for. And so many Christians are saved and their names written in the book of life, but you're just stuck. You're stuck with, I'm not happy. Why am I doing this? I don't understand. How did God get me here? And then now I feel like he's not doing anything. And that whole feeling of being shackled by life is what we want in our ministry, Transformation Ministries. That's what we do, is present the things and the tools that help us get free and get unshackled. So I really was kind of wondering today what we were going to talk about. I want to say, too, in our next coming up sessions, we've got two really dynamic women that are very powerful in the realm of dealing with the demonic. And when you talk about demons, you talk about the deliverance and some of those things, everybody kind of, I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. Well, these two really have been doing it for a lot of years. But they're like firecrackers, and they are so much fun. And I just want to introduce them to everybody on these podcasts, because they deeply understand the reality and the truths that there is demonic forces out there. We are living in a realm of three dimensions that has a fourth dimension operating in the things that we can't see. And if you don't understand it or believe it, that's just right where the enemy wants you to be. He's going to just try to keep you stuck there forever. And that's where he wants you to be, thinking that he's not real, but he is. So anyway, you might want to be looking for that one when it comes in. That'll be all about healing and deliverance kind of topics. But what I felt like I needed to talk about today was relationship type things. There's a lot of things that we have that are personal issues. We've got to deal with our own stuff and anger and fears and all those different things. But there's also some things the enemy can do, and he does, to really attack relationships. He doesn't want us to have relationships. He wants us to be an island where we don't have anybody, we're all by ourselves, and then he can really get into our heads. And there's somebody that's going to be watching this that's in a relationship, and maybe for a long time. It might be a marriage, it could be a parental relationship with a child, and now you're dealing with an adult child. It could be a boss and an employee type relationship. This is a stronghold or an issue for people that are in any point in time in a relationship with someone. So, and we call it the CRR stronghold. It stands for control, rebellion, and rejection. And it's like a mega stronghold. It's not like just, I'm dealing with an issue of anger, or I'm dealing with an issue of lust. This is a stronghold that kind of takes three major demonic forces: control, rebellion, and rejection, and the forces that deal with those things. And together, they attack two people that might be in relationship. And I see in all this 20-some years of counseling and helping families touched by addictions and helping families that are just having crisis in relationship, I see this stronghold operating all the time. It was operating in my life. When I learned this about 15 years ago, And it's a Restoring the Foundations principle and teaching. There's a wonderful ministry that we're partnering with that's headquartered out of Nashville, been around for 35 years. But this is a stronghold that comes and forces any two people at a given time to really get into a cycle of continual chaos until such time that the relationship breaks. So I want to spend some time just talking about it. We'll see how much we can cover today. But this CRR, or Control, Rebellion, Rejection Stronghold, it really affects families and in both the horizontal with the husband and wife, as well as parental with the parents down between their independently with their children. It's a destructive pattern in life, and it destroys relationships. It destroys families. I've seen it cause a lot of divorces. It's important for us to understand the cycle and how this CRR cycle works, because understanding it and even being aware of the fact that it's operating is half of the solution of having a victory over it. So I just want to just share a little bit of my thoughts of what I've learned over the years about what this is and what it looks like. When you first think about it, there's two cycles that are happening. Everything's centered around the word control. It's somebody is going to take control, and they're going to make somebody else be controlled by that control. And when somebody does enforces that control on somebody, there's two things. There's two ways that person can react. They can either feel rejection and hurt, like you don't understand, you don't care about me, you don't love me, or they can bow up and go, oh, I don't agree with that, I'm not doing that, and you start rebellion. So either way, there's a person that's controlling, and then there's someone that's being controlled. And inevitably, there's going to be a reaction of either rejection or rebellion if this cycle is operating in your life. Ephesians 6:4 says that fathers, don't provoke your children to anger by the way that you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. And so many times, us as parents, we have children issues because we parent them really well while they're kids. But as they begin to become teenagers and young adults, we try to keep that same type of control on them, and we don't give them the freedom to start to expand and make decisions, learn from their mistakes and those kinds of things, to where they rebel. Or they become a closed-door closet gamer or something in their room, and there's no relationship, and they just don't even want to be around you. And so it's prevalent in many different ways and different looks, I guess, different ways to see it. When we talk about this, we first need to think about control as there are some things that are legitimate control. I mean, when you are a boss at a company, you have legitimate control. I mean, you're in charge. You can tell these people what to do, and most people are expecting you as the boss to tell them what to do. And that's a legitimate control. In the military, I came 21 years in the military, and officers are given the responsibility to oversee the enlisted men to come together and fight a war. But there's definitely places and responsibilities and ranks that give them more and more control over what's going on the battlefield and in the whole thing, and everyone needs to follow those commands. And so that's a legitimate control. But what we're talking about in this discussion is illegitimate control. It's when people that shouldn't really be trying to put their finger in your chest and telling you what to do are trying to take control and do that, and it's affecting you. You're rebelling against it, or you're feeling hurt. Why are you telling me this? Why are you making me do this? I don't understand. And it's that illegitimate control that's going to be causing or opening the door for this CRR stronghold to start taking effect in our lives. I call this a mega stronghold. It's like this conglomerate of negative forces, control, rebellion, and rejection coming together as one big thing attacking a relationship between any two people. So when you think about this, you got to go, why would anyone control? I mean, why do people control? Well, some people control because they just want the power, right? I mean, people in Congress, people that are in political positions, most of them are not doing it to make money. Most of them do make money out of it somehow. I don't know. We don't know how that happens, but they do. But they want the power. They want to be able to be in control. Sometimes people are controllers because they were victims growing up of an over-controller. So a victim becomes a victimizer. And so it's just kind of like that's how dads always do it, or that's how in our family we've always treated women, or whatever it might be. Another reason that someone might be in control is that they're doing it because they're afraid somebody's going to get hurt. Like, I'm going to be in control as a parent because I don't want my child to get hurt. I'm going to say, you can't do that, or you can't go there, or you can't have somebody come over here because I'm afraid that's going to cause you pain or get you hurt. It could also be, I'm going to step in control because I'm afraid whatever you're going to do is going to hurt me. And I don't want to feel the pain of that. And so that's where you're in a relationship where there's a lot of distrust, and you are controlling because you don't trust the person in that relationship. And we can see that even happen when we're dealing in the Christian walk, that sometimes if you're struggling to trust God, what do? We don't trust God with the things that are going on in our life. We take control back, and we try to do it our way. And what I've found out in life is that doesn't work too good. There are some times when you have to take control because nobody else is willing to do it, and somebody is going to get hurt. And so you step in and take control. And a lot of times that's where you'll see heroes, where someone's in a car wreck and they're pinned under a car, and somebody takes control and they jump in, and all this adrenaline going, and you hear these amazing stories. They lift the whole car up, and they were able to pull the person out from under the car. I mean, it's just an amazing story. So those people are protecting others, and I call them like the heroes thing. And I mean, that doesn't happen on a day-to-day basis, but when it does happen, usually people are kind of happy that it occurs. So what we're talking about today, though, is the guy that's telling and stepping into control, and it's an illegitimate control or over-controlling, where they're telling somebody to do something that they can't do something, and that's causing a reaction by that other person. So let's just talk about that for a second. When we have somebody that's causing us to control against our will, or we're trying to I call it putting the finger in your chest and telling somebody, well, you're going to do this, you can't do that. A lot of times there's an ungodly belief associated with that person. That person may feel like I don't belong, nobody really wants me here, so I have to become in control to make sure that I'm included, to make sure that I'm still able to be part of whatever it is, the family or the team or the social event. Many times they're going to take control of the situation because I want to guard my emotions and my feelings, because I don't want to give anybody an opportunity to embarrass me, to shame me, or maybe even to really get to know me. So I'm going to take control and shift this environment or things so that nobody really knows that maybe I've got some issues, and maybe I'm not as nice or as good as what you're thinking I am. If you knew the real me, you wouldn't like me. And I don't want you to do that. So I'm going to take control of everything in the environment and make sure that doesn't happen. When somebody's a controller, it takes a lot of work to be a controller. If you think that the world rests on your shoulders in your family, or you think the world rests on your shoulders in your job place or whatever it might be, and you're controlling, I mean, usually those kinds of people are exhausted. They're always tired. Controllers just are tired from controlling the universe because, first of all, that's God's job. And second of all, we think we have to do it when we really don't have to do it. And the more you try to control, the more you have to put effort into keep controlling. The other thing about when you control is you start enabling other people many times to do a sin or stay in a sin or do something that they don't really want to do or shouldn't do. But for you to make your thing happen with the controlling, you kind of enable them. And it comes to mind is the wife that's married to an alcoholic. and he's not able to get off the couch and get a job, and she's just complaining that he needs to quit drinking and get out there and get a job, and she has to take care of him. But the thing is taking care of him makes her feel good about herself. So you find out halfway into this story of counseling that she's buying his booze and bringing it to him and keeps getting him whatever he wants. She's enabling him to stay in that place, but overall, she's in control of everything. And that's what's making her feel good, and they're locked into the control, rebellion, rejection cycle. So before we kind of talk about this stronghold and what does it look like, what are the different kinds of control? That's one thing to kind of be aware of. Obviously, there's direct control where you just have the authority. A policeman has a badge, and he puts his lights on, and you pull over, and he comes up and says, "Let me see your registration and your insurance," and yes, sir, and you give it to him. Why? Because he's got control. He's got legitimate control, and I got to do what he says. Then there's overt control. Overt control is a person that is, say, in a group, and if you've ever been like in a committee in a church or a committee in a city council or whatever, and there's, say, 9 people on the committee, and nobody really wants to be the head of the committee, but they have to have one, and pretty soon there's just a lot of wasted time, and everyone's just kind of talking. And finally, you can't take it any longer, so you just kind of say, "Well, hey, okay, I'll help you. I'll be in control." But what I see happen more often than anything is that everyone's not wanting to do it, and somebody recommends, "Hey, I think Bob should be in charge," and everybody else takes one step back, and Bob's standing there, the only one with one step forward, and he becomes in control, not because he wanted to, but he was kind of made to. And so he ends up being in that control position. So that's a kind of call that an overt control. It's not obvious. It's not demanded. They're not coming in and going, "Hey, I'm going to run this thing." They just end up there. Indirect control is where somebody is in a relationship or let's go back to the committee idea, and they are controlling the group indirectly. They're making suggestions, or they're doing things, and they're telling people, and there's an agenda that this person has. They're not in charge. They're not even the leader of the group, but they know how to sway the group by the inputs, and they usually are going against what the leader wants to do, and that causes a constant, it just makes it a lot harder for the committee to get things done. And we see that in Congress even today. There's just so many indirect controllers that are doing their own agendas for, say, their district or whatever, but the overall good is they're not getting anything done. And the last one's the hidden control. Hidden control, I always use the story of the Baptist church. I shouldn't pick on the Baptists. It could be any church or any organization. They want to get new carpeting for the sanctuary. And it's older, and it's time to get new. And so they have a committee, and there's like 9 people on the committee, and they start talking about the types of carpet they're going to get. And they kind of all have this consensus. We need something that has like industrial strength. It's got a contemporary color, blends in well, it covers dirt, easy to clean, all those kinds of things that we would kind of think about would be a major good things for a carpet of a church that's going to get walked on with a lot of people, coffee, water, and all these other things. And then there's one little lady on that committee who says, no, I think we should have a pink shag carpet. And everyone goes, "What? Pink shag? That's a 70s thing for one. Pink, we don't need it. It doesn't go with any other colors in the church. And by the way, that's going to be dirty, and it's going to show all the stains. It's hard to clean. No, we don't need pink." And so they kind of discard that, and they keep going on with their meeting. Well, about 3 weeks later, I show up in this church, and I look, and they got new carpet. Guess what color it is? Guess what kind of carpet it is? It's a pink shag carpet. Why? Because that little lady had all the money of the church. And after everybody got done putting all their inputs to the pastor, telling them this is what we think we should have, gray, industrial strength, nice, easy to clean, very affordable, the little lady went to the pastor and said, "If you don't do pink shag, I'm leaving the church and taking my money with me." Guess what happened? they get pink shag. So that's a hidden control. Nobody really knew what happened. All they know is, I don't understand how we got it. They had a committee, but they came up with pink, and that's what we got. So that's the types of control. What I really want to do is just kind of tease you a little bit to come back to next week's teaching, how I put this together and how I show you. I want to show you a diagram of what the control, rebellion, rejection stronghold looks like, and just kind of let you see it and think about it. Then next week, I'm going to walk us through this diagram and walk us through this stronghold of control, rebellion, and rejection, and really get a deep understanding of what that is. And if we can just get that diagram, there we go. You can see that there's three people involved here, or there's two people involved here, and the one on the left is the control person that's going to be in control. The one on the right is going to be reacting, either rebellion or rejection. And that line in the middle represents the divide between any two people. So it could be a husband and a wife. It could be a father and a son. It could be a boss and an employee, whatever it might be. And there's different ways you can be active or you can be passive. And we're going to explain all that. And then I'm going to show you how this stronghold destroys relationships. It's a very fascinating thing that when I heard it, I went, yes, I think this is operating in my home. I came back actually from Nashville. I was at a conference there, and I started explaining this to my wife, and she goes, yes, that's exactly what's in our marriage. And she got it right away. She could see everything I'm going to tell you. So if you've got some issues with family and your marriage, if you got issues with your children, adult children, or just your teen children, whatever, and there's always seems to be this chaos and disharmony going on, you may be struggling with control, rebellion, rejection, and the enemy wants to keep you stuck in that, and you don't need to. So just come on back for next week and watch this, and you're going to see that it's very easy to let Jesus come in and tear down all the walls of that control, rebellion, and rejection. So, Lord, I just thank you for the fact that you teach us these things, that you give us revelation knowledge of understanding this. And I bless every person that's watching this, that you can start to look at any relationship that you might have troubles or are struggling with right now and see if there's a controller issue in there and how are you reacting, either with rebellion or rejection. And if you come back next week, we're going to talk about that. And I can't wait to really share to you how to get unshackled from the CRR stronghold.